Morning, everyone. Just 1 second and we'll get started here. My question for you today is, have you heard God sing? Unusual question, I grant you. Our verse today is Zephaniah 3:17. The Lord your God is in your midst, a mighty one who will save. He will rejoice over you with gladness. He will quiet you by his love. He will exalt over you with loud singing. This is a pretty amazing picture that is not something that we're used to even thinking about. It really reminds me of how the creation is portrayed in C.S. Lewis's book, The Magician's Nephew, where Aslan the lion is singing the creation into existence. God is not only a God who saves, but he is so close that you can feel him and hear him. He loves you and he's proud of you. He loves us enough to quiet our fears and rejoice over us. And if that doesn't blow your mind, nothing will. Have you heard him or felt his presence lately? Sometimes we just have too much noise going on and have trouble hearing his voice. I know I do sometimes as well. This is part of the reason why I go on personal retreats, time away with God. It is then that I can slow down, get quiet, I can hear his presence, I can feel his presence, and actually hear him sing. Now, our recipe for you today is a no mayo slaw, and you can use a variety of cabbage. I'm going to start with about a cup of purple cabbage here. And let me see if I can angle this down so you can actually sort of see what I'm doing. I'm going to be doing a little cutting here. Okay, so need about a cup of purple here. Cut it fairly fine. Of course, everything will look purple as everything mixes together. That's about a cup. I'm going to cut a few of these the other direction to get them a little less big. There's one that needs to be cut a little smaller here. Okay, cut those up a little bit smaller at least. All right, and you can use green cabbage. I'm actually going to use some Napa Cabbage. Which, of course, this has a little bit different shape to it, so that's going to be a little different. So actually what I'm going to do is cut this lengthwise here a couple times to get it a little bit smaller pieces before I try to You can vary the size of this depending on how big you want your cabbage pieces. You can also use a food processor if you really want it done up fine. plenty of cabbage. Okay. So I'm just kind of mixing it up a little bit here with my hands. Bowl. So we've just got the cabbage in there so far. And to the cabbage, actually, I'm going to go ahead and add a couple sprigs of parsley. Cut it up a little bit here. Royal job of sticking to my fingers. Okay. That's about a tablespoon of parsley. If you're using dry, I would mix it in with the dressing instead of the salad. Okay, now we're going to make the dressing. I'm just going to use this kind of measuring utensil because I don't want to get it all over my other kind, even though this is kind of liquidy. And this is tahini, otherwise known as sesame seeds ground up. It's a primary base. This has actually got a fair amount of sesame oil in it. It's fairly liquidy. Didn't want to mix together real well. And depending on how thick you want this, you can add additional oil to thin it down a little bit and stretch it a little bit farther, which I'm just going to do a small amount. Of avocado oil. I'm just going to use a tablespoon, thin this down a little bit more. All right, so, and last thing I'm going to put in this is some lemon juice. Which I'm just using a already squeezed lemon. Organic lemons, they're not real easy to come by right now. You can make it heavier on the lemon if you prefer, but I prefer things to be a little acid but not overwhelmingly so. Spoon over here. Okay, so I'm just going to take a spoon and mix this up. Which is not necessarily going to stay real mixed up. Interestingly enough, it actually got thicker doing that. Probably a little chemical reaction going on there. Because normally, add some liquid to this, you would expect it to get less thick, not more. So I'm just putting this on top of our cabbage. And kind of spreading this around here. I'm not going to try to do this with my hands because I don't want my hands all messy. I'm working it down into the pile. You don't want to actually eat this necessarily immediately. It's, as with most slaws, you're better off with it allowed to kind of marinate a little bit in its juices, particularly with the lemon in this. You're actually kind of pickling it a little bit, and more so the longer you leave it in the dressing. So if you want to get full impact of all the flavors, you want to actually leave that for probably a couple hours before you actually eat it. I'm actually going to use some of this instead of just eating it as a salad. I'm going to actually put this in a wrap with some meat and use that for lunch. But I'm going to add more protein to it. But that's our no mayo slaw. And I'll be back next week with another recipe and another verse. So I will see you next Tuesday.